Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome. We'll give it a few minutes to see if other people join us. So just bear with us. But so glad to have you with us tonight. While more people are signing in, I'll just echo what our General Manager, Jonathan Abud, put in the chat. There's actually a prize incentive for participation tonight. So if you have not already signed up for that, feel free to do so in the chat. And we'll just give it one more minute to see if anyone else comes in, and then we'll get started. All right, we'll get started now. Welcome everyone to our 2021-22 fiscal year budget preparation town hall for the Isla Vista Community Services District. Since this is a meeting of our finance committee, we real quick just have to call the meeting to order and go through a few very quick administrative things. So I'll call this meeting to order at 5:34 p.m. And Jonathan, can you take the roll call?
Great. Director Brandt.
Here.
And Director Bertrand.
Here.
Guys is not here.
I'll also announce that this meeting is being recorded. And before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Chumash people, who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Chumash elders, past, present, and future, who call this place, Aniscoyo, the land that Isla Vista sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue their tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Chumash community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. Next, we'll go to the public comment period. Obviously, this is a meeting for us to hear input from the community, so if you have anything on the budget, just wait a few minutes, but if you have anything that is not directly related to tonight's agenda that you would like to share that's within the jurisdiction of the Isla Vista Community Services District Finance Committee, feel free to make a comment now. You can either put it in the chat or raise your hand. Okay, not seeing any yet, but let us know if that changes. So we'll now move on to our main item tonight, the Budget Town Hall. So just to give a brief introduction, I'm Ethan Bertrand. I serve as a director of the IVCSD, and I also serve as the chair of our finance committee for this year. Each year, this is one of our favorite meetings because we get to go to the community and ask, what can we do for you? What is your vision for how we can improve Isla Vista with our public funds? The Isla Vista Community Services District is financed by two main mechanisms of revenue. One is a utility user tax, which generates over $900,000 of funding for IV improvements each year. Additionally, we have a $200,000 contribution from the University of California, Santa Barbara, that helps move forward mutually identifiable projects for improving IV. So with that, we have over $1 million each year for services that directly benefit Isla Vista residents. And what I also want to say to start off is that our district came into existence based on community members coming together and identifying needs and service gaps and issues that we really wanted to solve as a community through meetings like this. So our hope is that for tonight and throughout our whole budget process, which will continue through June, we really want to hear from community members about how we can identify issues and use our resources to make a difference. And I will also pass it along to our board president, Spencer Brandt, for some opening remarks. Spencer.
Thank you, Ethan. And thank you to everyone who's joined us tonight for our annual budget town hall. I don't really have much to add other than to just reiterate the thanks for all of you for coming out and being a part of the budgeting process. You know, one of the things that I think our district really prides itself on is being that platform where people can come and participate in the governance process. The slogan that really formed this district was "No more about us without us." We want the community to be driving policy decisions. And so I'm really happy to see all of you here tonight and encourage you to really make your voices heard about any issues that exist in the community. Whether you think that they're directly under our jurisdiction or not, we'd love to hear from you on your feedback about government services. So thank you again for coming and look forward to the presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. And since we are a smaller group, I think there are about 15 people on the line. Traditionally, what we would do if we were in person for this meeting is we would do introductions. So I am going to call on people that I see on my screen. If you would like to introduce yourself, you're more than welcome. If not, that's totally fine too. But starting with Mia Rahman.
Hi, I'm Mia. I'm here as a spectator and resident, but I'm also on the board for the Isla Vista Recreation and Park District. So I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say.
Thanks, Mia. Leah.
Hi, my name is Leah. I am one of the public policy interns for the Isla Vista Community Services District, as well as a resident. So I'm very excited to be here tonight.
Thanks, Leah. Ted. Okay, we'll go over to Ash.
Hi, I'm Ash, and I am involved in EcoVista, Food Not Bombs, IVRPD, and a lot of other things, and really passionate about community causes. So thanks for having us.
Thanks, Ash. Ashley.
Hi, good evening. My name is Ashley Irving, and I am the Executive Director of the Youth and Family Services branch of the Channel Islands YMCA. This evening, I'm representing the St. George Youth Center.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Mark.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mark. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm a passionate member of Isla Vista. I'm in EcoVista. And then also I am on the county's community advisory group for the active transportation plan. And I would love to understand how we're using our funding here in Isla Vista so I can inform how the county should be using their funding for Isla Vista.
Thanks, Mark. Sarah.
Hi, I'm one of the CSD interns and also a resident of Isla Vista, and I'm excited to be here and see what we talk about.
Thanks, Sarah. Deborah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Deborah Anderson. I'm the Assistant General Manager at the Isla Vista Community Services District. Welcome.
Thanks, Deborah. CK. Okay, John Foran. Shad Batar.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shad. I am a third-year global studies major here at UCSB, also an Ivy resident. I came to this meeting because I heard about it from a friend, and I was curious about kind of the discussion and just to sort of get involved, maybe learn a thing or two. And yeah, I'm leading with curiosity here. So thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for joining us. Atmika.
Hi, I'm Atmika. I'm with the Daily Nexus, and I'm just here to see what's going down tonight.
Thanks for joining us. Catherine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Catherine Flaherty. I'm Vice President of the Isla Vista Community Services District, and I'm just here to listen to y'all tonight, and I'm super excited to hear from you.
Thanks, Catherine. Abigail.
Hi, I'm Abigail. I'm a third year at UCSB. I'm also one of the interns for IVCSD, and I'm just here mainly to listen and see what happens tonight. But yeah.
Great, thanks for joining us. I think I got everyone on my screen. If anyone wanted to introduce themselves who didn't, speak up now. All right. Well, folks will have a chance to comment on things and provide ideas very soon, but I'll now turn it over to our General Manager, Jonathan Aboud, to give a brief presentation.
Thank you, Ethan. Let me get the share screen set up. Just a last reminder in the chat is the sign-in form to be eligible to win a prize for your participation today. It's in there right now. And we can post it again in a second, but I'm gonna run through the presentation. So about the IVCSD, we've already gone over it a little bit, but this is just the mission and vision that we've established by our board and then the values of the district. We've been around for 4 years as one of Isla Vista's local governments. Isla Vista is an unincorporated community, and so we don't have a city council, or we're not part of the city of Goleta. We have the Ivy Community Services District, and as you heard, we have Mia from the Ivy Recreation and Park District here with us today. But this is about the IVCSD and what we stand for. Now, you can learn more here. This link in here, we can post this link to this PowerPoint in the chat, and it's on the agenda. There's just more information about the IVCSD if you wanted to go into it further. So we're going to talk mainly about our budget today and get your input, but I'm going to go over this PowerPoint that's going to show you a little bit of what we do now and kind of the current state of things at the IVCSD. Ethan already mentioned our utility users tax revenue is over 900,000. It's 975,000 projected for next year. It is a tax that Isla Vista residents approved as Measure R in 2018. And so it's on electricity, water, gas, and sewage bills and trash. We have a $200,000 from UCSB. We have a grant from the Associated Students that's ongoing for the to operate the Compost Collective program. And we have some rollover fund balance from last year because of COVID, some programs didn't have their full budget spent. So we've got some funds to use still. This 15,000 is for our safety stations, which I'll show in a second. Areas of spending in our budget. So we organize our budget into these different areas: public safety, community planning, public works, parking and transportation, community programs, and rental housing mediation. These they match to the powers of the IVCSD as put out in state law. And that's Government Code 61250. Anybody wanted to look that up, but we matched our areas of spending to the abilities of our district. Some of our existing programs, and I've put in links here to the page on the website for them. And there's also at the end of the PowerPoint a link to another PowerPoint that our board had at our retreat just a couple months ago that went over every program in depth. So you could go into that if you wanted to learn more about the specifics, but we can just give a quick summary of them right now so we can know what we currently do. The Isla Vista Community Room and the Community Center. These are located in the heart of Isla Vista. You can see a picture right here of the Community Center at 976 Embarcadero del Mar. Currently, it's being utilized for the temporary pallet shelter project by the County of Santa Barbara and Good Samaritan Shelter, which is ending on June 15th. And the community room is, across the way in near the Santa Barbara Neighborhood Clinic, and it's one of our oldest programs. We took operation of the room in 2017, and we've used it to put on a huge variety of events from salsa dancing, Zumba. We had a Mother's Day event for the mothers in Isla Vista. We did our budget town hall in 2019, where we had 80 people, standing room. So the room has been very flexible. Our board used to meet there before COVID started, and it is open. It was open before COVID for reservations from the community. So different student organizations or community groups would reserve it, and we'd have staff who would support that. So this program, it has an asterisk because it's currently, because of COVID-19, not operating as normal, but that's how it would normally operate. We have a rental housing mediation program where we have an opportunity for residents to have free mediation from an attorney between yourself and another tenant, or yourself and a property owner. So that's a rental housing mediation program. You can sign up on this link. IV safety stations, they've got a picture right here of them. We've got 2 stations at Window to the Sea and Little Acorn Park on Friday and Saturday nights from around 9:30 to 4 a.m. And they pass out water, and you can charge your phone there. And it's a safe place to call a ride, to get a ride from a CSO, an escort home, or to wait to meet your friends. So, and it's a safe point in the community. And this is actually our oldest program. We started this in October of 2017. Interpersonal violence investigator. It's a contract that we hold with the UCPD to have a detective who's dedicated to Isla Vista to investigate crimes of interpersonal violence. So sexual assault or stalking or domestic violence would fall under this, and she's specially trained and trauma informed to handle these kinds of crimes, and would be dedicated to them. So this is a resource currently available to all residents. Survivor Resource Center, in the same vein, is a partnership with Standing Together to End Sexual Assault. It's a space in Isla Vista for survivors to meet with resource providers in our building. It's right behind our office. Community Garden, currently a partnership with the Methodist Church in Isla Vista on Camino del Sur. You can go check it out. And I don't have a link to anything for it, but we're having a report to our board in May more about it. So you can learn more then. The Compost Collective is our newest program. We operate with a grant from Associated Students right now, but we service 96 homes for free. We collect food waste, and we drop it off at one of the compost piles in Isla Vista, and are working with Ivy Rec and Park District to develop another one. So it's a new service that's up and coming, and it does a few other things like the Food on Wheels, food collection at the end of academic quarters to divert that kind of food waste. So that's the IV Compost Collective. And then finally, last but not least at all, Isla Vista Beautiful, which is a community beautification program for the community to request any issues that are out in the community. So graffiti or trash, or scooters blocking the public right of way on the sidewalk. You can submit that, and our team, working with United Way, hiring folks who are experiencing homelessness or recently were, they'll get out there and take care of the problem. So those are the services we provide. And it was a little long, but just want to frame what we've got going on here. We've got also a few areas of spending where it's not dedicated to an ongoing operational cost, but to be utilized as needed throughout the year. So these are the different areas. Community special projects has been used for our Halloween virtual festival, for example. Potential, programs and upcoming programs next year that our board has discussed. So nightlife, arts and cultural programming is something that we're currently ongoing, and we'll look into how we can fund that and what would need to be funded. We received a grant from the state of California called the Sustainable Transportation Equity Grant, STEP grant, to do 2.5 years of transportation planning and community engagement in Isla Vista. And so that's going to be a major activity next year. Alternatives to policing. If you check our meeting yesterday, we had a presentation on alternatives to policing, and it's a discussion our board is going to be having over the next few weeks to months on what that could look like in Isla Vista. So that's something is being discussed. 2022 Spring Community Festival is, we've discussed having an alternative or an event during the spring first weekend and of April, and we've had this in for a few years, and it's been an ongoing project of the CSD, and we're gonna be working on it again next year. We're expanding the compost collective to service more households, and we're establishing a new compost pile. And we're hiring a staff position at the CSD who's going to be focused on community engagement, getting people involved in the CSD more. Just, these are our goals. You can click here to read more. Current year goals: reopen the community center, reimagine public safety and expand justice in Isla Vista, plan, promote, and execute events on nightlife to make social life healthier and safer, community engagement and public awareness, and then pursuing public ownership of community facilities and improvement of public infrastructure. This is what our board voted to focus on in this next year. And now we are seeking ideas from the public on these areas. And we just put in a couple prompts here that might help you start thinking, but these are not the only questions we are seeking today. But we put these in as how they could relate to our services. How could we have more events at our space? What can we do to improve public safety? We have all these programs already, and we hear that they're not being used enough, or not, people aren't as aware of them. So how can we make them more visible? How can IV Beautiful figure out, what other issues we can take care of through that program? So these are just leading questions, but turn it over back to our chair, Ethan Bertrand.
Thank you, Jonathan. So now is a time for anyone to make their voice heard on these issues or ask questions of us too. So with that, we'll open up the floor, and I see first we have John Foran. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Spencer. Thanks for the presentation and the supporting documents. I think what I'm wondering about in terms of your work plan, and I didn't look ahead to the year after next, but maybe I did see it somewhere about, looking at the plan for Isla Vista. And I'm wondering, how to use some of these items to begin that process in the current and coming year. So for example, most of them could be, if there was some kind of preliminary group looking into plan issues, they could talk about improving public infrastructure, or they could gather information about it. Improving the quality of life in our community, to me, is the ultimate goal of a development plan. Improving public safety obviously would fit there, and increasing awareness. So I guess I just want to say, as a representative of Eco Vista, it's on our work plan for the coming year. And certainly we'll be reaching out to the CSD and individuals in this call around that. But I wanted to just mention that in the context of the things you're working on here, so that we, if there's a role we can play, we would like to. Please, bye.
Cool. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. And I think that in regard to the planning issues and needs that you bring up, that's our priority with this sustainable transportation equity planning, which in this first year, it's really going to be looking at how do we identify tangible outcomes and specific projects that can reduce the need for individual car trips and car ownership in Isla Vista. That's one of the focuses of it, but with that, it definitely extends to infrastructure. It definitely extends to housing. And that's something we look forward to working with your group on. And I know that's just to start with planning, but that's what we do have allocated for this next year. And then building off of that. Go for it, John.
Just one quick reply. That's great. That's only a piece though, and I'm talking about starting the process proactively of thinking about the big picture holistically, rather than alongside working heavily on that piece. But I think we need to jumpstart that process, and for our part, we're going to do that, and we'd love to do it in closer association with CSD, because we'd like to do something together with CSD or for CSD on behalf of the community and with the community.
That's great. Thank you. And I'm actually remembering that our board recently voted to go out and look for a consultant to start identifying just different planning options for Isla Vista and report back to the community on it. So that'll be another good starting point in this next fiscal year.
I already have a job, Ethan, but thanks.
Thank you. Mark.
Hey, Ethan, can I add something in there? I
Yes,
just also wanted to bring to the forefront another element of the STEP grant, which is that really the first year is going to be focused heavily on outreach. Almost half of the grant's funding is specifically meant for targeted outreach so that we can get into all the different pockets of our communities and really get to the core of how they move from place to place. And a big part of that is going to be community-based organizations. So we'll definitely be wanting to continue to engage with all community-based organizations on that front.
Yeah. Thanks, John. Thanks, Spencer. Next up, I see Mark. And again, if anyone wants to get in the line, just raise your hand on Zoom or comment in the chat, and we'll go to you next. Mark, go ahead.
Hi, Ethan. Thank you. Yeah, so I have a couple really tangible ideas, but I want to start with kind of the broad-based idea, which I think I mentioned at another meeting with you all, that I encourage kind of every single monetary decision to be thought of as a climate change decision. Because aside from like some which I maybe programming or a few others, every decision, every small decision that we all make as people, every small decision that you make as a local government is ultimately a climate change decision on the priorities or the alternative. Because if you're, and so I encourage to think in that way. So in terms of some of my tangibles, one of which this comes from observation. What is so public restrooms. I have been sitting at Kage recently, and I've noticed the amount of, it's touring people that are touring UCSB and they're wondering where a restroom is, and I tell them to go to Woodstocks. But two, the people that are also wandering around and they go to the restroom meant for the houseless people, the two porta potties that are meant for the houseless people, which I don't think are particularly nice, but people are desperate enough to go there. And I think it's a testament to the lack of public restrooms that we have throughout Isla Vista, not just in the commercial area. And if we tie this back into the presentation that was shown yesterday, public urination is a huge cited fine in Isla Vista. It's regularly cited. And I think that is a testament to an infrastructure issue. Not, I'm sure some of it's behavioral, but I think ultimately it's an infrastructure issue. I think about imagine having to use the restroom desperately. If you're surfing at Sands Beach, you have no great option. So yeah, I wanted to throw that out there. Another one is in terms of bike safety and bike infrastructure. Once again, outside of the commercial area of Isla Vista, there is really very little bike infrastructure funded publicly. There is bike storage that is at the properties that the property managers here own, and it's because of the demand that students have had. But there's very little on the actual streets. There's very little bike lanes. There's not even, there's not even like an official sort of policy in Isla Vista. It's kind of it's an unstated policy in Isla Vista that bikes have the right of way. But it'd be nice if that was an official policy within Isla Vista that bikes have a right of way within. And I think it would make everything safer here too. And the other thing I would say is if anyone's seen those concave or convex, maybe that's the word, mirrors that sometimes are at intersections so you can see a car or a bike that is in a blind spot. I think that would be very useful to have those in public areas so you can see when there's not a stop sign at an intersection if there's a car coming. I say this as someone who's driven a car in Isla Vista, but also someone who's ridden a bike in Isla Vista, that those would be very useful. Nope, it's not the last. Okay, the other one is public trash cans. Public trash cans would be really nice. I think we would have less Ivy Beautiful claims if people weren't just like littering, because there's just not really many trash cans here, as opposed to like Disneyland has a policy that they have a trash can every 30 feet. I'm not saying we do that, but like that's a infrastructural difference of why we have trash all over strewn in Isla Vista. Cliff erosion. We don't really, I haven't heard the board talk about cliff erosion, but I've seen some really significant videos on Instagram and also just in person of not unsubstantial cliff erosion in Isla Vista. And I don't know what the hell the CSD can do about it, but I wanted to throw it out there because it's getting worse by the day. This is the actual last one. I had to take the train the other day, and so I scheduled a Lyft, and I also scheduled an Uber because Lyft has been spotty. Both of them didn't show up. So I had to take a bird to damn near the airport. Then it told me it was out of range. And then I had to sprint all the way to my train, and I was really unhappy. And I think it would be really lovely, probably in a partnership with the city of Goleta, to have a shuttle that ran from Isla Vista, UCSB, the airport, the train station, and Calle Real Market. I think those are the primary areas that students are going regularly. If you had it going every 15 minutes, I think students would love that, and I wouldn't have to sprint to the train. That was my monologue. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. And I mean, you had a lot of great ideas there. To really quick just comment on the last one about better bus service. Absolutely. That's something that each year we have a report from the Metropolitan Transit District where they come to our meetings and they give us a report on the service lines that come to Isla Vista and that transport our residents, and they receive our input. And for a long time, Ivy has needed and community members have asked for a route to Calle Real, especially I hear Trader Joe's is one of the biggest things that people want to be able to go to over there, but any of the businesses there, just as an example. As far as like the airport, we do have pretty frequent bus service there, but it doesn't go out to the train station. So you bring up great points. That's definitely something we should follow up with MTD on. As far as the public restroom idea that you brought up, absolutely, we need to look into that as well. And I know that's something people have looked into in the past in a variety of contexts, but we haven't made progress on it as the community. So yes, we absolutely have to look at that. Thank you. Next up, I see Ash has their hand raised. Go ahead, Ash.
Okay, thanks. So I also wanted to lead with the climate crisis and the fact that a lot of local governments are declaring it like a climate emergency. And I would be really happy if CSD would look into that. And just keeping it in mind with all the choices you make and see what can be done better to support our environment, you know, sustaining life and such. I'm really glad that you've supported the growth of the compost collective, and I'd like to see that continue to grow. I know CSD doesn't technically have land, but I guess there are different ways that you can potentially do things that involve land. So I'm going to say it anyway. More trees and more edibles is something I'd like to see all over town. So maybe working with your children's trees or other groups that are able to have that happen. Community jobs. CSD already has a few good jobs for the community, and I see that you're making another one with the outreach coordinator. So I'm really happy to see that. I guess now is a good time as I need to bring up, I'm working on a project to get the free box back. And I would like to possibly coordinate with CSD and Ivy Beautiful on that. I've had some conversations with RPD staff about it, and they seem down on the concept of getting the free box back, but they don't want it to be in the same place as it was before in front of the RPD office. They want to find a different location for it. Ideally one that can be paired with events where there's like pop-up markets, and that can help the free box keep things circulating. And that can be another thing to bring up for my comment about events I'd like to see, maybe like pop-up markets and swap shops, and supporting local artisans, or maybe even some local farmers. Or just, Ivy has so much extra stuff, between, especially between move out and move in, there's so much stuff that's perfectly good, but people don't have a place to put it. So if we could work on finding locations to store stuff and do pop-up markets, unless we could find a location for an actual thrift store. I guess we could still do both though. What else? Glad we're working on alternatives to police. I'd like to see that continue to develop. Oh yeah, I like that Mark brought up restrooms. I think, having a right to a restroom is so important. I don't think our public spaces are accessible without them. Everybody needs to go to the bathroom, and for some people that have certain like disabilities or health conditions, they can't go somewhere if there isn't a bathroom. It's going to be there. Also, like on trash cans, what if instead of just trash cans, we also had recycle and compost and a redeemable, like a mini free box, like all over the place? That would be my dream. And I'll end with saying I'm in support of the STEP stuff, the transportation work, and more public art. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Ash. That was a great list of a lot of really important things that we can be working on. So thank you for that. Next, we have Leah and then Ashley. Leah, go ahead.
Hi, this is just a short comment from me specifically on the trash cans. I think that Isla Vista would really benefit from trash cans that closed. They have like the compact ones that, you can like put your stuff in and it all goes down and it stays sealed in there. I think a large issue with them is people throw away their trash, but raccoons and birds come by and pick things up and then redistribute it throughout Isla Vista, which defeats the purpose of having them and make things look a lot dirtier and gets a lot more trash everywhere than there should be. So just one thing to note when moving forward with that.
That's a great point. Thanks, Leah. Ashley?
Hello, good evening. First, I just wanted to thank the IVCSD for their support of our weekly food pantry that is available through the St. George Youth Center. We continue to have 60 plus families making their way through that every week. And, I think we were all hopeful that we would see a decline as things open back up, and we haven't seen that. Matter of fact, we continue to see new folks come through. So I just want to make a case for supporting the community, supporting their access to food. I also wanted to expand on Mark's point and his frustrating set of circumstances getting to his train. That's through the perspective of a student. And I want to just highlight the perspective through a family, a single parent who might have 4 children and needs to get to medical care or other appointments down at the county buildings. These are low income population we work with. And that's another important consideration for the transportation and the bus. Also, when we're talking about safety, talking about safe places for youth, of course, I'm from the St. George Youth Center, so I'm going to talk about youth and that we're making spaces, safe spaces for our younger students in the community that need a safe place with safe adults, particularly and throughout the pandemic. That supervision piece has been a large missing piece for some youth who are left home because the parents have no other choice. I know of an 8-year-old who was left home every day during school because mom had to work. She was a single parent in the community. And so providing that sort of after school supports for youth that's safe and productive. Thank you.
Totally. Thank you, Ashley. Lots of great ideas and points. And we're really grateful for the partnership we have on the food distribution right now. And I know in the past we've had other initiatives that we've partnered on with St. George Youth Center and definitely want to keep doing that. So thank you. And that is it for folks raising their hand from what I see at this point, or actually spoke too soon. I see CK has their hand raised. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks, Ethan. So my name is Chris, and I'm just going to be talking about alternatives to policing.
Great, thanks.
So alternatives to police are really only going to help if the foot patrol presence is subsequently reduced. Adding alternative policing in addition to the foot patrol, it might just increase the policing altogether. I noticed in the presentation yesterday that there wasn't too much info on decreasing the IV foot patrol presence in collaboration with the county because it's not in your mandate, I understand. But there was really only rhetoric on diverting calls. What's important to note, though, is that most citations for nonviolent offenses, which are the focus of the CSO program, are for intoxication, possession, and public urination, which aren't usually instigated by calls to law enforcement, which they're instead usually just witnessed by police. So with that in mind, I recommend that the CSD work on reducing existing foot patrol presence with the county before budgeting for alternatives to police in order to avoid aggravating the problem. I also wanted to note that on page 36 of the SNAP training manual, SNAP was the program that was an example of alternative policing for anyone who didn't know. On page 36 of the manual, it's mentioned that, quote, vehicles that have overstayed their welcome in certain areas, unquote, are also targeted by programs meant to cite abandoned vehicles. This quote obviously refers to folks who live in their cars. And I hope that any police alternative that the CSD develops does not follow the example of SNAP in attempting to displace folks who live in their cars. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Those were a number of great points, and our board will be bringing back the alternatives to policing item within the next few months, and those are really important points for us to discuss at that time. So thank you for bringing that up.
Ethan, if I can jump in real quick as well, I really appreciate all the comments from members of the public. I think there's some great ideas in there. I did want to acknowledge too that while we are the only government agency in Isla Vista, I think that's very broad-based and directly accountable to the people. We are but one of a web of agencies that provide services. And specifically, I know we just had a comment about law enforcement presence and levels in Isla Vista. And I would encourage residents to reach out to the County of Santa Barbara on those issues, since the Community Services District, just to make clear, does not control the levels of policing when it comes to the Isla Vista Foot Patrol. And so, which I think the commenter is aware of that, but I just want to make it aware and clear for members of the public as well. So thanks, everyone.
Yep, Thanks, Spencer. And so I don't see anyone else with their hand raised. Would anyone else like to speak? Or does anyone have any questions on anything from the presentation earlier or anything you might be wondering? Mark, did you have something else to say?
I had a few things I left out.
Go for it.
So one is ADA accessible sidewalks. I used to work at IV Drip, and I vividly remember we had an older customer come in from Friendship Manor, and she was waiting. She had just gotten her ice cream. She walked her walker outside, and she was waiting for the shuttle that picks up people from Friendship Manor. And if anyone's familiar with the area that's right outside of the place that used to be Wanderlust, right next to the Bank of America ATMs, there's a fire hydrant right there, as well as like utility boxes on the sidewalks that are common for like electrical and other stuff. And each of those areas have gaps that are like 2 or 3 inches. They're not like quarter inches. And so this older lady fell, and we had to call the paramedics, because these sidewalks were definitely not ADA accessible whatsoever, at least in this specific area. And yeah, I've been frustrated that those sidewalks continue to be that way. Another thing is, working with, I mean, I don't know the ability to do this within a legal sense and the board, but like working with IV property managers to have pre-furnished apartments. The sheer amount of mattresses that get thrown out. I mean, I don't have to tell you all. I think everyone on the board here knows, but to me, I can't think of an alternative way to fix the amount of mattresses that get thrown out, or desks that get thrown out, and etc. to have pre-furnished apartments. And if we ever think about having like a car-free street in Isla Vista, we're going to want to think of a way to reduce like moving trucks and moving vehicles for large pieces of furniture. Yeah, thank you. That's it for real this time.
Cool, thank you, Mark. Some more very creative, innovative ideas. I like it. So one more thing I'll mention is that this is just one venue for input as part of our budget process. We have our budget survey that is live and will continue to be online for any members of the community or local stakeholders who want to provide input. I think I heard last night that about 80 community members have weighed in so far. So if you are one of them, thank you. If not, feel free to provide written comments there. And most importantly, pass it on to your friends. We'll continue to discuss this at our board meeting and our finance committees. And feel free to send us a message, an email anytime with any questions or comments that you have. But really just want to thank everyone for taking time out of your schedule to join us tonight. And with that, I think we are at the end of our meeting. So this is really silly because there's only 2 board members here, but we have to do a motion to adjourn. So I'll make that motion. Spencer?
I'll second.
Thank you for your second. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all. We'll see you soon. Bye.